Okay, good evening and welcome to the December 11th, 2025 Louisville Planning Commission meeting with a roll call, please. Oh,
Chair.
Recording?
Oh, right. Yep. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Chair Brown Eyes.
Here.
Vice Chair Baskett.
Here.
Secretary Choi.
Here.
Commissioner Bangs.
Here.
Commissioner Mahaley.
Here.
Commissioner Hunt.
Here.
And no Commissioner Moline, right? yet.
Expected very soon, yes, thank you. Could I have a motion to approve this evening's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Do we have anybody who wants to make public comment for items that are not on this evening's agenda? Seeing none. I'm tempted to actually just pause again. Who's going to be presenting on this? The first item of business? Is
Well,
it?
the first item is
Oh, okay, you want to, yeah, well, we can address that.
doesn't require any discussion.
All right, yeah.
So, I mean, basically the first item is that the applicant withdrew it. So that's not moving forward for Planning Commission at least.
All right.
And there are staff, I think, in the audience, if there are any questions about that, and Emily can answer any questions, but my understanding is they're going to meet the underlying sign code for the Art Center sign and not require any Planning Commission approval at this time.
Okay. All right.
Chair, just to bring a note, didn't address the minutes from the November
yeah.
meeting.
All right. Yes, thank you. How about a motion to, well, first, does anybody have any corrections for the November 13th minutes? Seeing none, a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
please. Second, thank you. All in favor?
Chair,
Aye.
I need to abstain
And-
just because I
Yes.
recused myself.
All right. Abstention. Thank you. All right, then. Not really. Generally frowned upon, but
But you could vote to change the order of the agenda, certainly, in the beginning of the meeting, but I don't know that you want to do that.
at this point, no, not at this point. Yeah.
No, I was only thinking that you could, if you get any planning commission comments or stuff that doesn't require.
Oh, something like that, yeah,
Out of the way
right.
first, that's what I did.
yeah. Just to let people know, we're expecting Commissioner Moline is going to be joining us any minute. We'd like to have him here for all of these issues, so,
Could take a
we take
5-minute
a-
recess.
yeah. 2-minute recess. Thank you.
Okay.
We don't need a motion. That's good. We'll just break right now then. All right,
Thank you.
certainly we'll
Recording in progress.
All right, reconvening the meeting here with our second item of business, non-functional turf zoning code amendment. I will now open the public hearing on a request for an amendment to the Louisville Municipal Code. The purpose of the hearing is to receive evidence regarding the application materials and provide a public forum for all interested parties who wish to comment on this request before the Planning Commission. The procedure for the public hearing will be as follows. First, there'll be a presentation and testimony by city staff, followed by questions from the Planning Commission to staff. After this presentation, members of the public who have joined the meeting in person by computer or telephone may speak regarding the application. Anyone who would like to speak in person is asked to complete a speaker card, use the raise hand function if participating by computer or *9 if calling by telephone. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes per person. 2 people present at the meeting may pool their minutes to allow one person to speak for up to a total of 6 minutes. The purpose of public comment is to receive public testimony, not a forum for debate or dialogue. Commenters are encouraged to raise pertinent issues and may ask questions for clarity. However, these questions will not be directly answered during the public comment period. The applicant and staff, in this case the same, will then be allowed to make a closing statement. I will then close the public hearing and no further testimony or other evidence will be received unless the commission decides to reopen the hearing. The Planning Commission will discuss the matter and may approve with conditions, deny, table, or continue to a specific future meeting. Public hearings are recorded for the public record. All testimony must be presented after stating your full name and city of residence. Does anyone participating in this hearing object to the procedure I've described? Seeing no objections, do we have notification?
Yes, all public notice has been met.
Do any Planning Commission members have disclosures regarding this item? Seeing none. Take it away.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is Emily Klein Gibson, Planner 2, with the staff presentation. This application is for Resolution 19, Series 2025, recommending approval to City Council of an ordinance amending Title 17 and the Development Design Standards to prohibit non-functional turf, artificial turf, and invasive plant species for certain new developments and redevelopments. The proposal tonight is in response to Colorado Senate Bill 24-5 and House Bill 25-1113 that relate to the prohibition of non-functional turf, non-functional artificial turf, and invasive plant species for new non-residential development and redevelopment, as well as new multifamily residential development with 12 or more dwelling units. The proposal includes amendments to the Commercial Development Design Standards and Guidelines, the Industrial Development Design Standards and Guidelines, the Mixed Use Development Design Standards and Guidelines, as well as a minor amendment to the sign code and a new section in the zoning Title 17 of the municipal code. To provide a little background, Senate Bill 24-5 prohibits the installation of non-functional turf, artificial turf, and invasive plant species starting January 1st, 2026. This prohibition applies to new commercial, institutional, and industrial properties, new common area properties maintained by HOAs, street rights-of-way medians, and transportation corridors, and redevelopment projects when over 50% of the existing landscape area will be disturbed. The bill allows turf to be planted in areas of functional recreation, such as athletic fields and playgrounds, as well as for stormwater purposes. The bill also allows for continued maintenance of existing non-functional turf, artificial turf, and invasive plant species that were planted prior to January 1st, 2026, and allows for the planting of native or hybridized grass species. This slide just provides a little bit of an image behind the terms non-functional turf and functional turf. If both of these grass species, I guess assuming both of these grass species in both photos are non-native and non-hybridized species, then the image to the left, which shows a grass lawn planted up against a road that serves no purpose other than for ornamental landscaping, would be considered non-functional turf. And the image to the right, which is grass that's planted in a city park near a picnic and a play area, serves a recreational purpose and would be considered functional turf. Since the grass in the left image has already been planted, it is allowed to be maintained under this new update as long as no site redevelopment occurs that would disturb over 50% of that area. House Bill 25-1113 was adopted a little over a year after the Senate bill and further expands on the Senate bill by extending the same turf prohibitions to new multifamily developments that consist of 12 or more units. The House bill also clarifies that artificial turf can also be used for recreational purposes and establishes the same enforcement deadline of January 1st, 2026. The bill also requires local governments to adopt regulations that address the installation of turf in all new residential developments by January 1st, 2028. However, this section of the bill is not included in tonight's proposal, and staff anticipates addressing this in the future, possibly during the Development Code update, which will begin in 2026. Both bills impact the adopted development design standards, which all include a landscape design chapter in them that outline landscaping requirements for site developments and include references to turf, sod, lawn, and grass. Outside of the design standards, there's no other location in Title 17 of the Municipal Code that references landscaping or water efficiency standards. The sign code also references turf as an allowable plant material at the base of freestanding signs, and this is the only section of the sign code that's affected by the bills. The proposal tonight includes amending the 3 design standards, the mixed use, commercial, and industrial, to remove language like turf, sod, lawn, and grass, and replace the terms with language that clearly states only grass that's native to Colorado or hybridized for arid conditions may be used for landscaping purposes. The proposed amendment does not fundamentally change the landscaping requirements on development sites, but it's rather intended to just clean up the language to align with the state bills and provide clearer instruction for implementation. The table below on the screen provides the exact page numbers in each design standard that show those proposed changes as strike through or underlined. And the screenshot to the right is an example of what that language might look like in the design standards in that attached ordinance. And it's comparable, this level of change is comparable to what you would find in all 3 design standards for all the proposed changes. Also proposed is a new section 17-16-370 in Title 17 of the Municipal Code. This proposed section references the state definition of turf, which is grass that is not native or hybridized for arid conditions, and outlines where turf and artificial turf may be planted, as well as which types of new developments and redevelopments this would apply to. An amendment to remove the term turf from the sign code is also proposed. Staff has analyzed the state bills against all adopted design standards in Title 17 and finds that the proposed amendments align with the requirements of the State Bill 24-5 and the selected sections of House Bill 25-1113. The proposed new code sections provide a central location outside of the design standards where the requirements of both the state bills are laid out, which will provide clarity for both the applicants and staff in administration of these new requirements and standards. Staff also find the proposed text amendments to the design standards and sign code act as complementary updates to the new section in the municipal code by removing the term turf, which is now specifically defined as non-native, non-hybridized grass species, and replacing them with language that specifies which types of grasses would be permitted for landscaping purposes. Proposal also is supported by Louisville's Sustainability Action Plan and Drought Management Plan. So with all of this, staff recommend approval of Resolution 19, Series 2025. This concludes the staff presentation, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great presentation. Questions?
I have a clarifying question that I just don't understand. So Senate Bill 24005 says the purpose is to conserve Colorado's water resources. And it also includes prohibiting artificial turf.
Yes. So Senate Bill 24005 initially prohibited artificial turf. It was the House Bill 25-1113 that later amended that and allowed artificial turf for recreational purposes.
And in the proposed changes to the Louisville codes, we don't want to allow artificial turf?
Artificial turf would have the same allowances in the proposed new section as functional turf. So for recreational purposes, that's what we're proposing.
Is there a reason why artificial turf is also prohibited in non-functional areas?
I believe it also consumes water. That's the main reason behind the staple. I know it's also made of plastics, just from an environmental standpoint, that may make it a little less favorable.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I think there's a lot of rinsing that has to go on that artificial turf.
There's a lot of what?
Washing.
In certain areas, can you bounce back to the slide that had the proposed LMC language on it?
Sure.
And also, for the definition of the hybridized grass species, is there like a performance level on that, right? I mean, there are currently available Kentucky bluegrass that's hybridized that we wouldn't want to be allowing. That's hybridized to reduce water consumption, but
Yeah, so the language follows the state bills, which really just allow grasses that have been hybridized for arid conditions. I think in implementation, we would refer to landscape architects that may know the exact species. Colorado State might also have a list of specific hybridized grasses that are allowable.
yeah, I mean, I think at some point we're going to have to get that right so that you all can interpret that in a way that would be consistent with that. I think part of the issue there too may be that, I mean, our goal is to reduce water. So maybe the language should say something about species that don't require additional irrigation.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not sure what the state language is at or how we've kind of arrived at the point we have with the language that we do have. But if that's the goal, then maybe we need to just cut to the chase. I don't know, or where they're headed with that. But so here, that one actually, yeah. So landscaping areas shall not consist of more than 25%. So native grasses, we've scratched out turf there. Where do these hybridized grasses fit into this language?
Yeah, staff could definitely include native or hybridized grasses. This was really just a very minor elimination of the term turf, and then using the existing language that was there, more than happy to include native into that language
Think
as
it
well.
may be easier to enforce,
Or hybridized, of
perhaps?
course. Yes. Okay.
All right.
Sorry, I just had one more question, and I don't want to belabor this too much, but the single-family residential element of the House bill is not included in the proposed amendment that
Correct.
requires
yes.
that element for January 1st, 2028,
Correct.
but it's intended to be included in the code rewrite next year.
Potentially, yes. So that's, I think staff just wanted a little additional time since would have a bigger impact
Okay.
and wider, area. We have a little bit of extra time because of the implementation date's not till 2028. So staff was thinking as we're updating our municipal code, that would be a good time to incorporate that.
Okay, and the other elements related to the non-single family are included because the effective date is January 1st, 26.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Banks.
Yeah, on the single-family residential, so potentially from January 1, 28, if somebody builds, it's not a development of multiple single-family homes, it's an individual single-family home could be prohibited from artificial turf.
So the language in the House bill allows local municipalities basically how much restriction they want to put on single-family houses. So it's not a complete prohibition of artificial turf or non-functional turf, but it could be. It's really just what the local municipalities want to do. The overall purpose is just to reduce water demands, and the House bill really lets local jurisdictions kind of have control of that.
Okay, that's good to know. One other question. You had a picture of Sweet Cow and Lucky Pie. So they can keep their artificial turf because it's pre-existing.
They can
Or
keep,
they could, if it didn't exist today and they wanted to put that in, as long as it's considered recreational, that would be okay?
yes, both. Yes, since it's existing, it may remain and be maintained. If they wanted to install it after January 1st, 2026, it's a picnic area, it's an eating area, it serves a civic purpose, it would be permitted.
Okay, thanks.
Similar on that line of questioning, though, so the pictures you showed of the landscaping, functional versus non-functional, how comfortable are you with those definitions and their interpretation moving
Yeah,
forward?
those definitions are pulled straight from the Senate bill and the House bill. And they further define, exactly what is non-functional turf and what is functional turf. Did you have
Yeah,
a
well, so
question
I'm curious,
specific-
so what if they bumped that out and put a picnic table on the left side?
I think that would come to staff's review
Yeah.
and maybe a little bit more analysis on whether that would qualify.
Okay,
but-
but you're comfortable with it?
Yes, so also, if this turf on the left image was made of a native species or hybridized, then it would be permitted just as it is now. It's really only if someone wanted to come in and use a specific non-native species and they, didn't want any other option, that might be a problem.
Great, thanks. Any additional questions? Commissioner Moline, wave your hand if you want, if you have any questions. Seeing none, okay. All right, no additional questions. We'll now open it up for public comment. Does anybody in the room want to talk on this one? No. And if I see 2 participants online and I don't see any hands raised there. Seeing no participants for public comment, did you have a closing statement? No, thank you. I will now close the public hearing and the planning commissioners will deliberate on the evidence presented. During deliberations, no further public comment or other testimony or evidence will be received. Who would like to begin?
It seems pretty straightforward, so.
Let's just work our way down then, yeah.
So no concerns from me, although I think it will be potentially contentious with regards to single-family homes. That'll be an interesting discussion.
Yep,
Otherwise, I'm all in, makes sense.
great, thanks.
I'm in support of it, and I appreciate the additional perspectives on the artificial turf as well, those impacts.
Thank you. Commissioner Moline, I'll put you in the on-deck circle. Commissioner Basket.
I'm in support of this. It's long overdue.
Thank you. Commissioner Moline.
I share the views of the previous commissioners. Yeah, I'm glad to see the state moving to something like this, and I'm thankful that our staff has crafted a way that so that our code is compliant. So I'm going to be in support.
Thank you. Commissioner Mahaley.
I'm also in support. I think it's fairly straightforward. I resonated with your comment about definitions of native and hybridized. I think for enforcement, I'd encourage staff to think about that. I don't know enough about native grasses, and we throw that term around a lot. So if there's like a centralized list that's obvious that we can all point to and like, oh yeah, this is native to this little corner of Colorado, it counts. I'm not sure what's native and what's not. So I agree with your comment of, we should probably have a list we can point to make that easy to enforce and easy for people to understand what they can and can't install. But aside from that detail of implementation, I'm in support of this.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Hunt.
With the benefit of going last, I am also in support of this and have nothing additional to add. It seems reasonable and necessary to comply with state law.
Great. I'm also very much in support of this. It really has been a long time in the coming. There was a point at which we actually had requirements for non-native turf, and we still see examples of that in relative recent developments. So I'm excited to see your embrace of this and bringing it to reality here. Thank you very much. With that, I will call for a motion.
Chair, I make a motion
Yes.
to approve Resolution 19, Series 2025, recommending approval of the ordinance amending City Council of the city's development design standards and Title 17 in accordance with Senate Bill 2405 and House Bill 251113.
Thank you. A second?
Second?
Thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Chair Brunus,
Yes.
Vice Chair Basket,
Yes.
Secretary Choi,
Yes.
Commissioner Bangs,
Yes.
Commissioner Mahaley,
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt,
Yes.
and Commissioner Moline.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Motion carries. Thank you very much for your work on this. All right, moving into our second item of business this evening. The Red Tail Ridge ConocoPhillips General Development Plan Amendment. I will now open the public hearing on a request for an amendment to the ConocoPhillips GDP. The purpose of the hearing is receive evidence regarding the application materials and provide a public forum for all interested parties who wish to comment on this request before the Planning Commission. The procedure for the public hearing will be as follows. First, there'll be a presentation and testimony by city staff, followed by questions from the Planning Commission to staff. Next, we will have a presentation and testimony by the applicant, followed by questions from the Planning Commission to the applicant. After these two presentations, members of the public who have joined this meeting in person, by computer, or telephone may speak regarding the application. Anyone who would like to speak in person is asked to complete a speaker card. Use the raise hand function if participating by computer, or *9 if calling in by telephone. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes per person. 2 people present at the meeting may pool their minutes to allow one person to speak for up to a total of 6 minutes. The purpose of public comment is to receive public testimony and not a forum for debate or dialogue. Commenters are encouraged to raise pertinent issues and may ask questions for clarity. However, these questions will not be directly answered during the public comment period. The applicant and staff will then be allowed to make a closing statement. I will then close the public hearing and no further testimony or other evidence will be received unless the commission decides to reopen the hearing. The Planning Commission will discuss the matter, may approve with conditions, deny, table, or continue to a specific future meeting. Public hearings are recorded for the public record. All testimony must be presented after stating your full name and city of residence. Does anyone participating in this hearing object to the procedure I have described? Seeing no objections, do we have proper notification?
Yes, notice was satisfied. Postcards were mailed within 750 feet of the affected parcels. The site was posted, newspaper was posted, agenda postings around town as well. So postings were satisfied.
Do any Planning Commission members have any disclosures? Seeing none.
Okay. All right. Good evening, Commissioners. Matt Post, Senior Planner, Community Development Team. The item before you tonight is consideration of Resolution Number 20, Series 2025, recommending to the City Council approval with conditions of the ConocoPhillips Campus General Development Plan Second Amendment to allow the application of enhanced industrial development design standards and guidelines. The summary of this proposal, the applicant is requesting approval of the Second Amendment to the ConocoPhillips Campus GDP to allow for the application of industrial development design standards and guidelines in place of the currently applicable commercial development design standards and guidelines. The CDDSG have applied to the ConocoPhillips campus its original adoption in 2010. Part of this proposal would also include enhanced architectural standards to create a hybrid commercial industrial design on the affected parcel, specifically for buildings whose primary facades face streets, private streets, and public rights of way. The site, I think most folks are aware, is more commonly referred to as the Red Tail Ridge or Red Tail Ridge Development Area. It's currently zoned planned community commercial and is subject to the ConocoPhillips Campus General Development Plan First Amendment. That First Amendment was approved by both the Planning Commission and the City Council back in September and specifically affected the Porter Adventist Hospital parcel that is on the east side of the site, which granted additional height allowances for that particular parcel, if you all recall. The area that would be affected by the Second Amendment of this GDP is generally central to the overall Red Tail Ridge development area and totals 111 acres in size. It's made up of 4 separate parcels, and it is depicted in the exhibit on your screen with the parcels highlighted in red. It's important to note that those would be the only parcels where this request for amendment would apply. The blue parcels that are on the perimeter of the site would still be subject to the commercial development design standards. All the parcels that you see in green are parcels that have been dedicated as open space to the city and or are functioning as drainage and detention areas for site-wide development. Long history on this site. I think we'll start with one of the more recent happenings again, which is the 2010 approval of the original GDP for the ConocoPhillips campus. That included a zoning agreement, a preliminary plat, and preliminary PUD approval. That original approval granted 2.5 million square feet of development area. It set a development cap, included a 12% minimum public land dedication, and then also, importantly, established the requirement that the CDDSG apply to these parcels. Again, the underlying zoning is planned community zone district commercial, so that was the standard application. More recent happenings here. In 2024, the final plat was approved, which established the parcels that are under consideration for amendment as part of the second GDP. And then earlier this year, of course, that first amendment was approved that affected the hospital parcel. And then most recently, in October of 2025, the applicant presented a concept plan application to the City Council requesting consideration and non-binding feedback to apply the industrial design standards to the development area that's depicted on the screen. The City Council was generally supportive of the move, but they did request that staff and the applicant work to establish a hybrid design that would offer the added flexibility necessary, but still preserve key design elements to ensure that it remains a unique development area, as I think was originally intended in the original GDP. So moving into the proposal, again, those perimeter parcels will remain CDDSG, as will the Advent Health site, where again, PorterCare Advent Hospitals has purchased a property. An important aspect of the request from the applicant is that the GDP currently allows for light industrial and research uses, which again are permitted and entitled as part of that ConocoPhillips Campus General Development Plan. Specifically, those allowed uses are research and development, fabrication, warehousing, technical manufacturing, and processing. Those use types are generally not aligned with commercial-oriented building design. The uses of that nature typically require larger building footprints, boxier style buildings, higher structural bays, more mechanical screening areas, loading areas and service areas that take up larger portions of the site and larger portions of the overall building or development area. Our commercial development design standards are generally not supportive of developments of that type and style. In the application of the industrial design standards, with the enhanced architectural standards, staff are of the opinion that it provides that additional flexibility needed to establish those use types that are permitted by right as part of the overall ConocoPhillips Campus General Development Plan, and would generally be, sorry guys, jump forward here a little bit, trying to find my mouse on this. But again, those, the hybrid design would again allow for the flexibility to establish those use types that are allowed there. But when in applying the enhanced design standards, again, I think the intent there was to establish a district that is separate from what we see in the CTC, right? Where we have the industrial design standards that apply outright. We approach this with the intent of establishing a noticeably different district where we could apply measurable and repeatable design standards in addition to the industrial design standards. Beyond just the application of the industrial development standards, which again apply site-wide, and include standards like overall building height, siding, building orientation requirements, screening standards, and landscaping. Again, those enhanced standards are now tied directly to this general development plan, and they include items like transparency requirements. So more specifically, the standards would ensure that buildings present an active and pedestrian-oriented frontage that faces streets, both public and private, which again those standards are generally absent from our industrial design guidelines. We have specific measurable standards, examples of which include at least a 50% transparency for the areas between 2 and 10 feet above grade on a building facade that face a public or a private street. We also included additional transparency standards for the areas of a facade that are between 12 and 30 feet above grade, again, that face a public street, to give the overall appearance of what would be a second story. So we implemented this. If you look at tilt-up concrete, it's, again, reflective of those high structural interior bays. So you can tell that there's not 2 stories in it. We worked with the applicant to get that second level look of transparency that would apply site-wide. A couple other key features here for the overall enhanced design would be enhanced entry features. We felt that this was an important feature to add. So those enhanced entry features, again, entries are required to face a public street. Depending on the overall length of a building, a certain number of entry features would be required. So for example, if a building is, I'll just read from the staff report here, greater than 200 feet in length, a minimum of 2 primary entry features would be required. Greater than 400 feet in length, a minimum of 3 primary entry features. We've included a number of design standards for all entry features. First and foremost, entry features have to occupy at least 20% of a building facade in which they are located, and they have to be a minimum of 10 feet wide. In addition, they need to include glass vestibules or facades, metal canopies, porticos, things of that nature. They need to be proportional to the height of the overall facade. Need to include additional materials and accent materials that vary from the overall materials that are proposed in the building. And then we also included material and texture standards to introduce, again, required and measurable variation in the actual materials that are proposed on the building. So that can be achieved with materials or different textures or different colors. And we included a limit that no single material or color may occupy more than 75% of an actual facade. So again, the intent here with these enhanced design standards is that they will be in addition to what is in the industrial design guidelines, but then they are repeatable and measurable, and they reduce some of the ambiguity that's present in our actual commercial design guidelines right now, and then also in our industrial standards. And so here are some examples of the renderings that are proposed. You'll see this on PUD1, which is coming up after this, but these are examples of those enhanced entry features where we have recessed entryways, we have glass storefront systems that present a first floor appeal and then a second floor appeal as well. You can see there's a projection, there's a variation in materials and colors. There's enhanced corner features as well. I neglected to mention that. We did include enhanced corner feature requirements on the buildings, depending on the way the building is oriented when it's facing a public street. So you can see this is an example of elevations provided by the applicant that would satisfy the enhanced industrial standards that would be part of this second amendment. Moving into the analysis, I think as the Planning Commission are aware, there are no specific review criteria for general development plans in the planned community zone districts. So they will follow the same process by which they were originally approved. There are purpose statements, however, for the planned community districts, and GDPs are intended to encourage, preserve, and improve the health, safety, and welfare of the community through contemporary land planning principles and coordinated community design, and more importantly, recognize the economic and cultural advantages of an integrated planned community development to provide for various land use types, including retail, service activities, recreation, school, offices, and or other land uses. Staff are of the opinion that this general development plan amendment allows for the appropriate economic use of the site based on the land uses permitted under the general development plan, which would, again, align with those light industrial use types. Considering this amendment, staff took into account the fact that the 2010 GDP, again, allows those light industrial uses, the research and development, processing, and with the enhanced building requirements, a more appropriate design framework was established with the enhanced standards that would allow for those use types. Staff also find that the enhanced standards working with the applicant to enhance those standards, we were able to work to elevate what would be the overall architectural quality as opposed to just straight application of the IDDSG. Again, that was also proposed by the City Council, again, that hybrid standard approach. The other consideration here is that the amendment applies only to the centrally located parcels within the overall Red Tail Ridge development. So although there will be new local rights-of-way constructed, Rockcrest Drive, Sorrel Avenue, inside Red Tail Ridge, the primary arterial roadways that surround the development, which include 96th, the yet-to-be-completed Campus Drive, Highway 36, all visibility from those arterial roadways will be subject to those commercial development design standards as well. Also, in considering we have some pretty significant open space buffer on the northwest side of that site. So staff find that this general development plan maintains compatibility with future surrounding development based on the centrally located nature of where they are, and that the enhanced design standards align with the intent and applicability of the community zone district and the overall general development plan requirements. And so with that, staff recommend approval of Resolution 20 Series 2025, which recommends to the City Council approval of the ConocoPhillips Campus General Development Plan Second Amendment on the condition that the applicant address all administrative, technical, and formatting staff comments contained in the attached ConocoPhillips GDP Second Amendment, and that all such revisions be addressed prior to any City Council hearing on the application. And so with that, the applicant is here. I don't believe they have a presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions in the interim.
Good, thanks. I'll now open it up for commissioner questions. Commissioner Hunt.
Just curious about the height difference between the industrial standards and the commercial standards. I was thinking about these being interior. Are they going to be higher, or are they kind of comparable to the commercial buildings that will be on the edge?
Well, if we're I think the first thing is to call out is the hospital parcel, which is pretty significant, right? We permitted a height increase there of over 100 feet. But from commercial design standards, I think maximum commercial height is 40 feet. If I'm not mistaken, I'd have to look in there, but I'm relatively certain it's 40 to 42 feet. In the industrial district, it's actually 40 feet with a max height of 50 feet with a mechanical screen. So the industrial standards take into account use types and allow for a 50-foot maximum height for mechanical screens. So we'll measure that 40-foot height limitation from average grade to the top of a parapet in those tilt-up scenarios. So from a height perspective, relatively in line with what would be required of the commercial design standards. I will expand on that just a little bit if that's okay. Part of the requirement of our commercial standards requests varied building forms, or roof forms rather, right? So a square box like structure wouldn't necessarily meet our commercial design standards. So from just an overall massing perspective, I think there would be a bit of a difference. We would probably look to see some variation in roof form in the commercial standards, to whereas that's not required as part of our industrial standards.
But just as far as the overall, like, you're not going to have these giant buildings sticking up in the middle.
Right, that's correct.
Comparable at least.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say they'd be comparable. Yeah.
They're not asking for, these standards aren't asking for any height changes in the.
No, yeah. So we would apply the way the GDP reads right now is the IDDSG would apply in lieu of anything else that's specifically on the GDP, and so the height of the industrial district would apply.
I have a quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
So just trying to understand the process. This IDDSG as it stands applies to this GDP only?
Well, as the amendment is proposed, it would apply only to the affected internal parcels, that 111 acres interior, yes.
So where I'm going with that, so you're proposing an enhanced IDDSG?
Correct.
Could that be applicable elsewhere once we were we to approve it here.
Yeah, it would not be. It would only apply, and so the GDP will be very explicit on the area in which that applies. We'll actually have a legal description. So lots 1, 2, 3, and 5 of Block 1 would be the only properties where this would apply.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Joy.
Couple of questions. Thanks for the presentation. There's a lot in there. I know that this property and the GDP have gone through a lot of scrutiny over the last 15 years. And we just approved the First Amendment to the GDP recently. If you were to make a guess, how many amendments in total might we expect to see on this GDP by the time we're done with this development?
I would defer that question to the applicant.
Okay.
If that's appropriate.
Okay. Second question, the fenestration ratio that's required for the transparency. There are a couple of elements within the package that reference it. And I just want to clarify, you say 50% for the first 2 to 10 feet above grade and then 18% 12 to 30 feet. Are those exact numbers or minimums? Because it's kind of conflicting in what the package says.
Yeah, if there is any ambiguity there, the intent there was for those to be minimums.
Okay.
So if you feel there's any ambiguity, I think it's appropriate to address it and indicate that they would be minimum requirements. Yeah.
If it is approved, I think that we need to make that clarification.
Great.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Great point. Thank you very much. Commissioner Basket.
I think a couple of times in your presentation, you used the expression hybrid. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, I would say that is probably a holdover from our city council hearing where we were trying to come up with terminology for what we were intending to do. And so we settled on a hybrid industrial approach, right? Where, in a typical tilt-up product, which is, typical of industrial development, you wouldn't see the fenestration designs on there. You wouldn't see the articulation. You wouldn't see the additional materials. And so what I was saying by hybrid is that it's an industrial use, it's a tilt-up building, but we're applying those enhanced standards in, I guess, what we would call a hybrid form, where we're looking at some of the commercial features that really highlight like pedestrian scale development, specifically that 2 to 10 foot piece. And so when I say hybrid, I was pulling some examples from our commercial district. I was pulling some examples from other mixed use districts where I've worked where we can achieve measurable standards. And so that would be the long answer as to why I use the term hybrid is in there. Yeah. So, yeah.
And just to confirm, I think it was in the pack, but walkability and bikeability is not impacted by the hybridization.
It's not. So the industrial design standards, our industrial design standards actually have relatively strong circulation requirements, I would say. If you look at some of the sites that are developed in CTC right now under straight IDDSG, there's some pretty significant, some of the newer ones, I would say there's some pretty significant walkway requirements from a circulatory perspective. So I would say no, they're not impacted in this particular scenario.
Great, thanks for confirming that. Mm-hmm. Any additional questions? Seeing none at this time, we can invite the applicant up. Do we have questions? If you can introduce yourself and your
Commissioners, Marshall Wheel, Director of Development for Sterling Bay, overseeing the Red Tail Ridge project. And just to add, I did a great job walking through everything we've been through on this. I guess just from our perspective, very design forward group. We are not trying to come in here and put up a bunch of FedEx type warehouses, just blank concrete walls, right? Tilt up construction. That was not the intent of this. We're in a very design forward delivery, and hearing what City Council was concerned with of any future developments, future developer we were to ever sell off a parcel, anything like that, they'd want these hybrid design standards to stick. I think the biggest point that we've been going back and forth on is that the current GDP under the CDDSG allows for industrial warehouse storage type units, and these uses, they're allowed uses on site, and these uses just don't align with that commercial design guideline standard really well, and it's just not going to, makes it unfeasible to answer your question, this is the only one we were going after in terms of an amendment. The reason being is that center zone, we wanted to keep these industrial buildings down in that center valley of the site. Really, if you were out on site, there's mounds along 88th. You're never going to see into this. There's going to be buildings along the 36 corridor, and the hillside goes up. You're never going to be able to see in towards these buildings. And then once the hospital's up, you're never going to see it along Northwest Parkway as well. So that was the intent.
Great, thank you. Questions for the applicant? Seeing none. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
I'm now putting it up for public comment. I see we have 2 participants online, but if you want to participate, please use raise your hand function. Okay, seeing no public comment. Do either of you have a closing statement? Mr. Post, closing statement. No, okay, thank you. I will now close the public hearing, and the planning commissioners will deliberate on the evidence presented. During deliberations, no further public comment or other testimony or evidence will be received. Who would like to chime in? Yeah, maybe we can.
Me down here on this end this time?
Yeah.
I'll just say I'm going to be supporting this. It seems like it's been well thought out. It's consistent with City Council's direction to find a way to incorporate these industrial uses, and I appreciate the thoughtful approach to trying to make it what may be the most attractive industrial park around. So I will be supporting this.
Yep. Also in support. I think for for an industrial park, it is quite nice. I think a lot of thought's been put into it. I think this one's fairly straightforward. I'm in support.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Basket?
I'm also in support. This seems like a practical approach to the buildings and the type of use.
Thank you. Commissioner Moline?
I'm also going to be in support and building on what people have said already. I'm wondering if maybe we're seeing the beginning of the concept plan process sort of working here, and giving the council being able to give some direction to our staff and an applicant to kind of work through an issue. So I'm encouraged by that.
Thank you. Commissioner Choi?
Thanks, Chair. I applaud the attempt to de-industrialize the industrial area by creating that hybrid approach. So I think that's a good idea. I appreciate the applicant's acknowledgement of not trying to rewrite the dictionary a word at a time by not continuing to feed through amendments. I think it's a good use. I appreciate the activation of some of the non-traditional elements like the building corners for entryways. So I think that's a great nod to moving that forward. I'm in support with a clarification in the language to clarify that the fenestration ratios on the first and second level areas, in air quotes, are minimum.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Bangs?
Yeah, nothing to add. I'll be in support. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. I'm also in support of it at this time. I do think it does strike a nice balance, and I'm happy that we were able to work with the applicant on massaging something that some might dismiss as kind of an architectural detailing issue that maybe we shouldn't be meddling in, but nice to have you all on board to be able to do that with. So as far as the minimum goes, you got that? We don't need that as a condition. Staff will take care of that.
Absolutely. That's an easy fix, can be part of the overall conditional package. Yep.
Great, thanks. And you're comfortable with that? Yeah? All right, great.
Thank you.
All right. Call for a motion, please.
Chair, I will make a motion to approve Resolution 20, Series 2025, recommending to City Council approval with conditions of the ConocoPhillips Campus GDP Second Amendment.
And a second.
Second?
Thank you, and a roll call vote, please.
Chair Bruneyes.
Yes.
Vice Chair Baskett. Secretary Choi.
Yes.
Commissioner Bangs.
Yes.
Commissioner Mahaley.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt.
Yes.
Commissioner Moline.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. We'll now take a 5-minute break, reconvening at 7:36. Hey, Jeff, should we wait?
We're waiting on Matt to.
Yes,
yeah.
okay, sounds good.
There he
There
comes.
we go. Hello. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, no, it was off.
Recording in progress.
Okay, welcome everybody back. I will now open the public hearing on the request for PUD number 1 for the Red Tail Ridge Planned Unit Development. The purpose of the hearing is to receive evidence regarding the application materials and provide a public forum for all interested parties who wish to comment on this request before the Planning Commission. Procedure for the public hearing will be as follows. First, there will be a presentation and testimony by city staff, followed by questions from the Planning Commission to staff. Next, we will have a presentation and testimony by the applicant, followed by questions from the Planning Commission to the applicant. After these two presentations, members of the public who have joined this meeting in person by computer or telephone may speak regarding the application. Anyone who would like to speak in person is asked to complete a speaker card. Use the raise hand function if participating by computer or *9 if calling in by telephone. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes per person. 2 people present at the meeting may pool their minutes to allow 1 person to speak for up to a total of 6 minutes. The purpose of public comment is to receive public testimony, not a forum for debate or dialogue. Commenters are encouraged to raise pertinent issues and may ask questions for clarity. However, these questions will not be directly answered during the public comment period. The applicant and staff will then be allowed to make a closing statement. I will then close the public hearing and no further testimony or other evidence will be received unless the commission decides to reopen the hearing. The Planning Commission will discuss the matter and may approve with conditions, deny, table, or continue to a specific future meeting. Public hearings are recorded for the public record. All testimony must be presented after stating your full name and whether you are a resident of Louisville or not. Does anyone participating in this hearing object to the procedure I've described? Seeing no objections, do we have notification?
Similar notice to previous case, postcards mailed, site was signed, notification to the Daily Camera, agenda postings around town. Yes.
Thank you. Do any Planning Commission members have any disclosures? Seeing none, Mr. Post.
Okay, good evening again. Commissioners, Matt Post, Senior Planner on the Community Development Team. The item before you tonight is a request for approval of Resolution Number 21, Series 2025, recommending to the City Council approval with conditions of the Red Tail Ridge Planned Unit Development Number 1 South to allow 236,993 square feet of industrial development and associated site development at Red Tail Ridge, Lot 1, Block 1, Filing 1, I believe. So the applicant, Sterling Bay, is requesting approval of the first PUD at Red Tail Ridge. They are titling this PUD number 1 South. The affected area is in the exhibit on your screen, highlighted in yellow. As mentioned, the proposal would include 2 light industrial buildings totaling 236,933 square feet. And that is on Lot 1, Block 1 of Red Tail Ridge. Filing number 1, no address has been assigned to this particular parcel yet. The overall property size is 21.6 acres. So this is 1 lot in that overall newly applied industrial enhanced design standard area that we discussed in the previous case here. And so this is the same exhibit that's on the screen that was presented in the last case that shows where the enhanced industrial standards will apply. Of course, the zoning did not change with the GDP amendment, and this is still subject to the GDP. Of course, it hasn't formally been adopted, but with your recommendation of approval, staff did perform this review under the assumption that consideration would be given for the IDDSG and enhanced standards. So, again, the review was performed under the IDDSG and the enhanced standards that were considered previously. You saw the history here again. Of course, the important item on this one is the 2024 final plat, which established the overall lots for development. In the existing GDP, the Second Amendment will now apply. So this planned unit development would allow for 2 buildings on the site. Building B, which is the easternmost of both buildings, is proposed at 142,658 square feet in size. 39 feet 6 inches tall, which is under the 40-foot maximum prescribed by the industrial design standards. Building A is on the west side of the site and is proposed at 94,335 square feet. That building is proposed with an average grade measurement of 38 feet 6 inches tall. Those measurements are taken from average grade to the tallest point of the highest parapet on the structure. In addition to those two buildings, the site includes parking for 555 vehicles between the two buildings, and a total of 40 bicycle parking spaces, 20 at each building. It's important to note that there is no maximum parking requirement that exists in our municipal code, in our commercial design standards, or in our industrial design standards. Minimum parking requirement, I'll cover that a bit later, is somewhere just below 300. So I'll let the applicant expand on the number of parking spaces that are proposed here. A total of 34 electric vehicle charging stations will be provided between the two buildings, along with 36 EV-ready spaces, 45 EV-capable spaces, and 45 EV-capable light spaces. The latter three of those types are all to support future EV charging in addition to the 34 EV chargers that are proposed on site. That standard is in line with the recently adopted Colorado Model EV code, and then also satisfies this PUD's requirement to achieve Fitwel certification over the overall campus, and we'll cover that a bit in later slides as well. The site will include a relatively large portion of open space on the west side. You can see it. It's bisected by, on the exhibit on the screen here, it's bisected by a path and then a pedestrian plaza space. Although those trails are on private property, I do believe the applicant has indicated they will be publicly accessible, but I'll let them expand on that a little more. But they are on private property. It's not part of the overall open space dedication of the original final plat. And again, the electric vehicle infrastructure satisfies our code requirements in the Fitwel certification piece. We'll cover that a bit later here. The development will include plaza spaces with seating differentiated by patterned concrete on the north and south side of both buildings. That is actually a requirement of the industrial design standards and guidelines. Internal walkways are proposed, which will connect the parking areas to building entrances and the broader sidewalk network, and then in turn the larger open space and trail system that's proposed as part of the overall Red Tail Ridge development. I'll go back to this screen here quickly. This all buildings, so the west side of building A includes appropriate width sidewalks. There's connections through the parking lot, and then there will be sidewalks proposed on Rockcrest Drive, which is on the south side of this particular building. Rockcrest Drive is a public right-of-way, and it's in blue. What's on the north side and in green is a private street, which will be built and maintained by the applicant, but that will also include sidewalks as well. 3 access points are taken off of that private street. Each parking lot has an access point, and there's a shared access point in the center where you can see the service bays and loading areas are away from public streets and again sharing that centralized access. Building B's primary facade, Building B is actually reflected on the bottom rendering here. Building B's primary facade faces east and is shown again on the lower elevation here. Building A's primary facade is the upper elevation on this exhibit and faces west. So again, you can see this is the 2D architectural elevations are hard to see the detail in. These are very long buildings, but you can see the transparency standard is satisfied. The applicant's actually exceeding that 2 to 10 foot transparency standard, that 50% that we established. I think it's somewhere in the realm of 60%. They're also exceeding the 18% requirement that we came to agreement on here as well. But this is a good example of, again, that 2D rendering of what those enhanced standards would look like. And here are those renderings that we saw on the previous GDP amendment. Again, really highlighting corner entries, enhanced entry features that take up the entire height of the building facade, which was a major feature of those standards, including recessed entries, projections, awnings, material variation, and that enhanced transparency. Continuing with the proposal here from a landscape perspective, there are more than 3,000 low-water shrubs, grasses, and perennials that are proposed on this 21-acre site. 317 trees of various species are also proposed within the internal landscape area, within the parking lots, as we have parking lot landscape standards that would apply from the IDDSG, which this plan satisfies. And then there are trees around the building perimeter as well. Street trees and perimeter plantings are not shown on this PUD. The reason for that is because an overall master landscape plan was originally approved with the 2024 plat and the construction documents that are associated with that. So they're not reflected on this PUD. They will be installed as part of the overall horizontal construction package, which is actually ongoing right now. So that includes an additional 40 perimeter trees around the site and an additional 300 shrubs. I do believe the applicant has honored the non-functional turf piece here. There will be no non-functional turf in the right-of-way, but those trees will be required as a condition of final construction acceptance of all the overall right-of-way build that occurs throughout Red Tail Ridge. So that's on Rockcrest Drive, and that's also on the private street. So the previous approvals included those full landscape plans and collateral for all of that, those improvements as well. Areas not planted with the trees and shrubs will be landscaped with native short grass prairie seed mix and then low water buffalo grass to promote long-term water efficiency and then reinforce the compatibility with the surrounding open space that's provided in the overall Red Tail Ridge development. Additional items here. So as part of this proposal, the applicant is required to meet several unique commitments that they agreed to during the 2024 final plat application and the subsequent subdivision improvement agreement that accompanied that final plat. The commitments that are relevant to this PUD include the requirement that all buildings in the entirety of the Red Tail Ridge development area achieve a minimum LEED Silver certification, that solar power generation be provided at a rate of 1 watt per building square foot with a minimum 2.5 megawatts provided campus-wide of solar power generation, and that the project obtain Fitwel campus certification. For those that may be listening, and maybe some on council on commission that are unaware, LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. It's a nationally recognized rating system that measures how sustainability or how sustainable a building is designed and constructed. And then to achieve that LEED Silver designation, a project must meet a set of required standards. Those standards help them earn points across a number of different categories when it comes to overall site design and/or building development. They relate to things like energy efficiency, water use, indoor air quality, materials used, and then again, overall site design. The applicant has indicated that the majority of their LEED points will be addressed through the building permit stage. So primarily their overall build out their MEP package, which is I think relatively common from a LEED perspective. So we have requested that the applicant include a note on the cover sheet indicating that this development will achieve the minimum LEED Silver standard. And so just if you're curious about how we'll enforce that from a final planning review perspective, we would look to ensure that that LEED minimum standard is achieved. And we've talked to the applicant about this prior to a CO issuance. I know they have a core and shell plan. We can talk about that a little bit more. There's a certificate of completion for core and shell. Then when a tenant actually occupies a space, it's a certificate of occupancy. So as a condition of one of those final features, we'll ensure that we have that final LEED scorecard that shows they've achieved minimum silver status. Fitwel, the Fitwel designation here, just again, so that folks are aware of what Fitwel is. It's a nationally recognized building rating system again, but it's more focused on supporting the health and wellness of the occupants of the building, the people. So again, while LEED focuses on environmental performance, that Fitwel designation evaluates how a campus promotes physical activity, safety, and overall well-being of the people that use the campus. Fitwel campus certification means that the development incorporates features such as connected pedestrian networks, bicycle facilities, access to outdoor spaces, appropriate building design, and policies that encourage active and healthy lifestyles. And so part of that note that the applicant is including on the PUD will include a requirement that a Fitwel scorecard, which is required for overall campus certification, be submitted to verify conformance. It's important to note that that Fitwel certification applies campus-wide. So the LEED certification will apply to each individual building. The Fitwel certification is a campus-wide certification process. So in order for the applicant to achieve that, we'll need to essentially memorialize a scorecard, a Fitwel scorecard at the end of every development prior to or concurrent with issuance of a certificate of occupancy. The last one here, the solar piece, so that note that I'm mentioning that'll go on the PUD will also tie directly to solar requirements. We're agreeing to allow that note because solar is generally a building permit process that comes well after, right, the building has been completed. I'll let the applicant talk about that a bit here, but essentially what we'll need is at the time of CO, again, not core and shell completion, but at the time of tenants occupying the space, we'll need some sort of evidence that the solar commitment has been satisfied. And so from a planning perspective, when we sign off, I know I've talked to you about this before, when we sign off for final COs, we'll look at our original entitlement documents, and so we'll look to ensure that the solar commitment has been achieved on this particular property. Now, what I will say is I don't, in the SIA piece, I think there's some ambiguity as to whether solar is actually required on every building. There's a minimum standard for how it's achieved. So the applicant could pursue an alternative to that. If they do, that means they just have to hit the next PUDs harder with a whole lot more solar. So it's kind of their choice on how they do that, but we're giving them that flexibility by adding that note to the PUD. I'll add a little more about the Fitwel score here because might be a little bit new. So the components that are incorporated into this PUD that contribute to the overall Fitwel score include things like electric vehicle charging stations. So there's a green vehicle component to the Fitwel certification. Again, those bicycle facilities also contribute to their Fitwel score. Low water landscaping and solar power generation also contribute to the Fitwel score. And then the pedestrian network that's proposed and dark sky lighting. So there's actually a category for dark sky lighting. The lighting that's proposed here is full shield cutoff or full cutoff lighting, all at 3,000 Kelvin, which is of course the low warm temperature. That would be the minimum standards for to meet some of the dark sky point requirements for the Fitwel campus certification, and those are proposed as part of this PUD. Yeah, because the applicant requested the GDP amendment, which of course you all recommended approval here prior, the review was done under the IDDSG and under those enhanced standards. I can tell you that this PUD has been in review since early 2025. We've got a pretty significant list of conditions here. I wouldn't say it's significant, but we have a red line document that has some outstanding technical items on it. One of the reasons why we're bringing this forward is because the applicant and I have been going back and forth for quite some time about the application of design standards. So the CDDSG, they can tell you I was immovable for quite some time on the CDDSG piece, which is how we got to this point where we're at right now. So in our review of the overall plan unit development, both planning, public works, fire, other agencies, we felt we were in a comfortable position to bring this forward with the conditioned red lines that we have, with the understanding that there are no other major items beyond just technical and formatting requirements that will occur primarily through the CD stage. So I just wanted to note that real quick as what we'll talk about a little bit later here. But so the review occurred again under that ConocoPhillips Campus General Development Plan. We talked about some of those standards that already apply, which include setbacks. Those are applied by the GDP. Use restrictions are, again, applied by the GDP. Parking requirements are also set by the GDP, 1.25 spaces per 1,000 square feet for a research and industrial use. That's applied by the GDP. And then, of course, the new enhanced design standards in the IDDSG. So staff find that, that as proposed, this PUD satisfies with the Second Amendment all of the standards of the proposed ConocoPhillips campus GDP, which would include the industrial development requirements. The GDP, just for a bit of additional information here, the GDP also establishes a minimum floor area ratio, or FAR, of 0.15 site-wide that applies through the entire campus. That equates to 2.5 million square feet of overall developable area for the Red Tail Ridge campus. This PUD is proposing 236,000, just under 237,000 square feet, which is of course well under the remaining FAR cap because they are the first PUD that's coming in. It's important to consider future development though, as I know the applicant is. So considering the hospital parcel, you all considered the hospital parcel previously. You'll recall that a density transfer occurred there from Advent, the original Advent Health GDP that was moved over to the Red Tail Ridge GDP. That was part of that first amendment. So considering the FAR that was given to the hospital parcel right now, and in consideration of PUD number 1, there's 1.8 million square feet remaining of developable area for the entirety of Red Tail Ridge. So again, that number, so we start with 2.5, take out the hospital, take out PUD 1, 1.8 million square feet of developable area is remaining for the GDP. And then again, just a quick note on the uses here. I know we've covered this quite a bit, but the GDP does allow research, development, manufacturing, fabrication, processing, assembly, and then associated warehousing and storage uses. So the proposed uses that are, or the uses that are proposed on this PUD do align with what's allowed in the GDP. The proposed building heights, again, 38 feet 6 inches and 39 feet 6 inches. I have some exhibits on the screen here. We can see that that's measured to the top of parapet or within the industrial design standards. Parking is required at 1.25 spaces per 1,000 square feet. That would equate to a minimum of 296 parking spaces. The applicant's proposing 555. Again, we have no maximum in our code, just a minimum. On the items relevant to this GDP, the applicant meets, or I'm sorry, the application meets or exceeds those standards. We've covered this here, but the proposed design of both buildings comply with the enhanced standards that were considered as part of the Second Amendment. Those include the street-facing elevations with significant pedestrian-level glazing. They exceed the 50% transparency requirement and 2 to 10 feet above grade. They also exceed the 18% requirement on the perceived second story, and the building entrances do meet the proposed enhanced entry standards. So again, with the newly adopted GDP, the site is subject to those industrial standards. 38% landscaping is provided, where 30% is required. Loading, service, and trash areas are fully screened and provided at the back of house, which is also a standard. Vehicular circulation on the site is achieved through 3 access points, and fire has signed off with some additional requirements for fire hydrants to be located throughout the site. That'll be part of the overall conditional package that we take forward. They'll have to show us those fire hydrants. Architectural design meets our standards. Those service and mechanical areas, again, remain out of sight and internal. There are some large retaining walls actually on the southeast portion of the site. I bring that up because they're really significantly large. There's a big grade change there, and so we do have some design standards that apply from the industrial development requirement where we have long expanses of walls. They need to be first and foremost terraced if they're too tall, so that we have 3 terraced retaining walls, and then they're actually broken in height as well all the way down with some additional, I think a split face CMU is what's proposed there to provide additional architectural interest. So the retaining walls, which can be missed sometimes on PUDs, I've seen that happen doing final inspections. They were covered here as part of this review. Lighting, full cutoff, 3000K LED fixtures. Again, we talked about that. That meets the Fitwel standards and is generally aligned with some of the most basic dark sky principles. And then the PUD criteria under LMC 1728-120 are satisfied, and they're addressed in the appendix of the staff report. So we analyzed this PUD again in light of that subdivision improvement agreement, which I mentioned, which requires those additional commitments for LEED Silver, Fitwel, and solar. I think we talked about how we are ensuring that is achieved with a note on the PUD. And then another important note here is the overall in that SIA, and as part of that plat and the construction documents associated with it, a transportation demand management plan was submitted for the entire site at Red Tail Ridge. So part of the SIA requirements actually show that the applicant has to indicate in some way, shape, or form that they're meeting the minimum commitments of the transportation demand management plan. There's also some analysis to be performed with the original traffic study. I'll take a note here, an original traffic study was approved for the entire site. There was no other changes to that were required as part of this PUD. But as far as the transportation demand management plan is concerned, I'll just provide some additional information here. So the Metro District that was established as part of the overall final plat will be contributing and operating a shuttle service that's actually going to provide shuttle service from the Flatirons RTD station in Broomfield that will serve the entirety of the Red Tail Ridge district as part of their Phase 1 approvals. So this site will be serviced by that shuttle from that RTD station. I think, as you all are aware, there is no RTD service at Red Tail Ridge. I think we approached RTD and they said we could pay for a stop and pay for the service, or the applicant could pay for a stop and pay for a service. So I think a solution was found here in the Metro District with the shuttle piece. The other item that the Metro District will secure fees for from property owners would be for eco passes from RTD for when buildings are actually occupied. Again, in part of that Phase 1 development, which PUD 1 is here, they'll be able to take advantage of eco passes through RTD. So those are standard TDM strategies that will be applied to this particular development. And so with that, that'll conclude my presentation here. So we recommend approval of Resolution 21, Series 2025, recommending the City Council approval with conditions of the Red Tail Ridge Planned Unit Development Number 1 South to allow 236,933 square feet of industrial buildings and associated site development. Happy to answer any questions you all may have about the conditions that we have here. We felt it was appropriate based on where the PUD was at to bring it forward tonight, with the understanding that what we have remaining are generally technical in nature. So.
Thank you very much. Talk about drinking from a low water hose.
Sorry.
Yes.
Thanks. You need a minute? That was
No,
a lot. Okay.
I'm good, yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was a lot. Question on the process clarification. So, understanding that obtaining LEED Silver is at the discretion and approval of USGBC, how has Planning and Public Works come to an agreement with the applicant to hinge a CO on the certification of the building that's dependent on a third-party determination?
Yeah, I mean, we've allowed the applicant to provide us a pathway which they have indicated they can achieve. So I think that's the take.
So that's the core and shell certification? Is that what we're looking at? Well, we can ask that of you when you get up here too, to clarify it a little bit more. So right within LEED, there's a core and shell certification that you can achieve, as you know, before occupancy, as opposed to LEED for new construction, which would be post-occupancy at some point along the way.
Yeah, and then I'll just add too, we'll likely engage a third party on our side when it comes to LEED review to ensure that they're compliant with all LEED certifications. I think we have a third party right now that I think will perform LEED reviews for us, so that'll be part of this review. We'll engage a third party.
Thanks.
Any additional questions for staff? Yes, Commissioner Mahaley.
Questions about the east side of the property. Do we know at this point what's planned for the east side? There's a smaller parcel that appears to be between this eastern boundary and a street that I don't know the name of yet. But do we have any sense of what's going to go there?
Yeah, I'll defer to the applicant on there, but I will say that that's part of a different lot. So it's actually a different property boundary. I know on what was presented previously by the applicant, it was shown as an overall open space area, not dedicated to the city.
Yeah.
I'm saying that because they're not required to keep it open space because it wasn't dedicated. So I'll defer to the applicant.
Sure. And where I'm going with this is drainage, because the eastern side is parking lot. So could you also comment on, I think I see where the retaining wall is, but could you point that out? And you referenced some steep grade changes. If you could point those out, I think that would be helpful.
Jeff, can you get my screen back over? Thank you. So it's almost just off screen here, but you can see that bottom right.
Yeah.
That would be the series of the retaining walls. I know there's a
And that's terraced.
That's terraced. That is terraced. I would say it's such a large site. This scale.
Yeah.
It's hard to see that it's terraced.
That's what I'm getting at. So
Yeah, it is terraced. Yes.
okay, so that edge is fairly. So the edge of that parking lot is fairly above the parcel to the east of it.
It is, yeah. And there's a full, obviously, subsurface stormwater conveyance system that our engineering team is reviewing at the time.
And that's what I'm getting at. So like, paved land next to a high grade change, where's the water going to go? So just want to make sure we're thinking through that.
I think I would defer to the applicant a little bit too, if you guys may be able to speak a little bit about what the drainage and stormwater conveyance plans are. I can tell you that just we have requested a full drainage report, so we had a drainage letter. A full drainage report is currently under review right now.
Yeah.
To ensure that that's being addressed appropriately.
Acknowledging I'm scrutinizing this a little bit, but it's also the first. So here we are. So I don't think we need any more waterfalls in Louisville. Do we have any?
Any additional questions for staff? None at this time. All right. Thank you very much. Invite the applicant up. And just to confirm, you are not a citizen of Louisville, right?
I'm not a citizen of Louisville. It's a fun town. Again, Marshall Wheel with Sterling Bay, Director of Development. If you wouldn't mind, would you mind pulling up the overall site plan from the first presentation? I think I could fill in the pieces on the pond or the drainage question.
Not sure if I'm gonna be able to do that. Let me try.
No worries. Or if we could pull up the current slide.
You're famous.
Just the current slide is okay too.
Oh, okay. Why?
There's also a good overview on
I'm not
page
sure what's going on here.
170 of the PUD packet.
Okay.
May need Ryan's help here. Let's see. My computer's locked up.
Can
We
I share
take
from?
a couple minutes to work on this. I think it'll be helpful for everybody. Do we have?
Okay. Can.
Hey, we are back from break.
Sharon? There you go.
There we go.
Perfect.
Ish. All right.
Let me see this.
Thank you.
Sorry, this laser pointer doesn't seem to be working either. Nonetheless, going back to the question about drainage on site and what's going on in the general area, to the right of this retaining wall, there is a large park, not open space, but a large park that we put in, and there's a detention pond within that open space. We're naming this PUD 1 South, but there's a PUD 1 North, and that whole PUD 1 is a 5-building complex, and that area drains towards that pond along with the street storm. And there's multiple retention ponds on site or within our entire development that we've used to try and detain as much water as possible on site for use.
Additional questions? Yes.
Can you speak to the parking, why there's so much more than required?
We would love to do less, always. There's market standards when we look at competition and other properties that we're going to be up against, and certain market standards that we have to meet to be competitive with other surrounding properties. And we come to those numbers talking to a lot of brokers, doing studies of existing properties, seeing what their parking count is, and depending on life science, we can go a little bit lighter than office, right? Because you're either at your workbench or you're at your desk. And then industrial can get a little bit less just because there's not a heavy office component to it. So this one's probably our lowest parking count ratio, this particular PUD.
Additional questions? Yes.
So when I look at the overall plan, I see the other future proposed buildings in the industrial district. Just taking a step back towards that conversation around the achieving LEED Silver at a minimum.
Yeah.
These are large buildings, right, as you acknowledged. Was there a reason why you didn't contemplate the overall plan with especially such large footprint buildings in the industrial district from an east-west orientation as opposed to the north-south orientation?
Yeah, we're trying to keep it how they're oriented right now. You want as much sun trying to get towards certain faces of the building just because the ice buildup, especially with the delivery entrances. So you want to avoid icy truck delivery dock bays.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's why you went with the north-south orientation?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Sun, enough sunshine.
Sure. And a nod to the overall, I think for this square footage, right, 237 kW of installed solar PV. I just want to get clarification. There is the campus-wide requirement, right, of that watt per square foot of built area. Is the intention to have site-specific building-connected solar PV for each district, or are you planning an overall campus-wide singular array that meets that watt per square foot requirement?
So on life science buildings, traditionally like wet lab chemistry and biology, there's so much mechanical equipment up on the roof and plumbing equipment and all sorts of compressors, everything we put up there, that there's not a lot of room left over for solar. We're making our life science buildings in particular, not this one, PV ready, and we'll put in as much as we can around the border outside of mechanical screen, but you usually can't gain a lot of space on those types of buildings. This is definitely a candidate where we're going to put a lot of solar on this building as much as we can. Waiting to see, kind of what type of tenant will go in here, because most of these buildings don't need a lot of equipment up on the roof, but we've had one tenant ask about, we want to put a bunch of skylights up on the roof, which, so we play around with it, and that's why we want to usually submit that during building permit as a deferred submittal. So on the cover page of the drawings, we'll list, LEED and solar and anything else we need to submit post permit.
I guess maybe speaking a little bit maybe to your intent for the whole campus, is the intent to try to achieve direct building connected solar PV? Or is it going to be, is the intention to have a campus installation that then, provides essentially, behind the meter reconciliation?
Yeah, we were trying to do it per building in an instance where we'd have to go put a bunch of panels out in a field. I don't think anyone would really enjoy that. So the intent was to put it on the building and support each building as much as possible.
Okay.
So on your current strategy for LEED, though, you're intending to pursue core and shell certification
Yeah.
and have that ready by
Yeah.
CO?
Yeah. And so, how the LEED process works, a lot of times we put together a scorecard, and, to get to LEED silver is X amount of points, LEED gold is 60 points, and we'll go above and beyond, we'll overshoot 5 to 10 points to ensure that we're always going to hit our certification. When the building's finals, and we do need to go through a certification process with the LEED team, so it's not necessarily aligned with building sign off. So when you have substantial completion, you then submit your application to LEED to apply to grant certification. But there shouldn't be any reason why we can't get LEED silver in any of these buildings. It should be very straightforward.
So CS certification at time of CO is the goal?
You have to apply post CO. It's not a line.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why I was wondering, because LEED for new construction, you would have to apply post CO, but LEED for core and shell, you can apply in advance of that based on design.
We can apply in advance, but they're not necessarily always aligned day for day ahead of time in my experience on that.
So how is that going to work out with the city then, as it relates to the note we had in there said?
I mean, I think it's something that we can explore more to ensure that we're able to guarantee LEED silver is achieved, whether it's via the core and shell or the new construction stage. So I think if the planning commission is okay with it, we may be able to craft a condition along those lines that will allow us some flexibility to ensure that that the applicant is achieving LEED silver and that we can verify that.
Just in the note of transparency, I used to work for USGBC, GBCI, doing LEED reviews. So I understand the trickiness of all of this. That's where I'm trying to understand more about if you're going to pursue core and shell.
Yeah.
That's one thing. If you're going to pursue NC, totally different animal.
So as landlord developer, we're going after core and shell definitely for every building.
Okay.
If it's a build to suit scenario, this was built to spec. Right now, we've had enough people come on site and they're really interested, but want to see more going. So we're going first with this one, and then we would require our tenants to meet the LEED silver as well. When we're doing a build to suit scenario, we'd be able to put all that information up front, and you'd see the full mechanical system, all that. Something like this, it's limited mechanical, limited electrical, very straightforward to get approval on. Yeah, if you.
Okay.
So we'll definitely strive to align them with CO, but.
Yeah, I mean, at best you would have this CS at CO,
But the scorecard really tells the truth. We have third party.
It doesn't.
No. We'll definitely get knocked off some points, but that's why we overshoot.
Right.
We're overshooting quite a bit to ensure.
Yeah.
Is there I'm going to ask this question knowing sometimes how difficult it is to get a certification review past the Steve Brown eyes, because I ran up against that multiple times in a previous life. But is LEED silver really what you're going for? Are you shooting above for LEED gold, or are you just meeting the requirements of what the agreement was with the city when the original GDP was approved, or are you trying to strive for any more?
We're shooting for LEED silver. If there's any scenarios where we can easily get to LEED gold, we'll absolutely go for it. Looking at this as a campus-wide solution with the Fitwell certification, the whole trail system is going all around the campus, amenity spaces that we'll be putting in later. We're looking at that holistically as well. But if there's any time where it's easy to go get LEED gold, we will. A lot of these buildings, we're going shell and core now, LEED silver. We don't know what's going to be there at the end of the day at this moment. And GMP manufacturing type tenants, it's very difficult to go above and beyond. They use a ton of power and water, and where if it's a industrial aerospace, we might be able to easily up it a notch.
Especially considering some of the elements that you're including in terms of trying to, facilitate some of those mass transportation options. Are you also contemplating a LEED campus certification for the entire development or no?
Yeah, we were contemplating. I mean, it hasn't been thoroughly discussed, but there's no reason why we couldn't get the LEED campus. We've done a couple of developments recently, just massive developments that we go for LEED campus at the end of the day. But we would need this whole space built out, just not knowing exactly, how it's all gonna unfold.
Thanks.
Additional questions for the applicant or staff? Commissioner Moline, anything? Seeing none from here, okay. All right. Anything else? Yeah, no? All right, thank you very much. I will now, we have no, actually, do we? No, we have no other attendees online. I'm guessing you guys aren't here for public comment. Seeing no public comment, we will move through. Do you have any closing statement you want to share?
No, we're just really excited to get this one going. Like I said, we've had some pretty big tenants come look. They're mostly looking in multiple states and seeing which site they want to select, and just getting these early spec buildings up gives all the confidence in the world to anyone coming and looking that this is going full speed ahead, and we're just ready to get going. Appreciate your time.
Certainly, thank you. Staff response and closing statement.
I'll just add, Chair, regarding the LEED certification, I was just reviewing the originally approved subdivision improvement agreement to see if there's any other information in there that we could potentially lead on. And if the language just specifically states the project will achieve LEED Silver certification or better. So in leaning on your expertise and maybe with the developer's experience, if we want to craft an additional condition, I think that would be appropriate if there needs to be a distinction between the core and shell certification versus the final construction certification. So just wanted to put that note out there that we didn't have any other additional information in the SIA. So, and I have no other closing statements beyond that.
Okay. I've been wondering about this one for a few years now. Well, actually, 15 or 20 years. There's no easy way to make it enforceable, kind of a thing. I feel like there's significant goodwill on the team's part. I wouldn't want to restrict it to core and shell by any means. Like you said, if there's a possibility of build to suit, you could go all the way with new construction certification. That's kind of more desirable. So I don't know that we would be able to craft language that would tighten it up much from our perspective. We could. I mean, we could say lead core and shell at certificate of occupancy. That's a challenge. I can appreciate why that would be a concern for you all. So I've been wondering about this one, but I think we're probably best to move forward with it as is in the long run, so. All right, excellent. Any additional closing statement? That's it? All right, thank you very much. I'll now close the public hearing and the planning commissioners will deliberate on the evidence presented. During deliberations, no further public comment or other testimony or evidence will be received. Do I have any volunteers? All right, fantastic.
Sure.
Commissioner.
Just going back, bonging back and forth here from the end. I think I'm largely in favor of this. I'm encouraged to see progress starting on this parcel beyond the hospital. And the only thing I would just point out, and this goes without saying, you've mentioned it a couple of times, we might want to just put a note on our approval if we approve this, that obviously it is contingent on approving the amendment, the city council approving the amendment, because all of the analysis appears to be based on that amendment being approved. So that should probably just be made clear if we all agree to approve this.
Yeah, And actually, on that note, do we have a count on the conditions?
A total count of conditions? We don't. I applied the actual, the red line set that we included initially. And so the takeaway there is that what's included in a red line comment set needs to be satisfied. But we can also include a condition about the GDP amendment, just as a reminder, that is approved by ordinance, so there will be a first reading in front of the city council. But yeah, happy to add that, absolutely, as well. That makes sense.
As a condition? Yeah, okay, thank you. Thanks for raising that one. Go back and forth here a little bit. How about on the far?
Yeah, I'm in support. I think Senior Planner Post attempted to deliver the most comprehensive package possible and avoid any commissioner questions at all. But
impressive.
But he failed, so barely.
But that failed because, of course, Commissioner Choi is
Yes,
always going to
exactly.
have questions about the technical stuff.
Yeah, but no, very impressive, and yeah, I think we're all eager to see progress, and this looks good.
Great, thank you. Moving back over here, Commissioner Mahaley.
Thank you. Largely in favor. Nothing really to add what's been said, although I do appreciate the additional park or green space on top of what was already promised. So I think that really enhances, I think, the appeal of this project. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Moline.
Yeah, I'm also going to be in support. It'll be interesting to see that, I was trying to think, gosh, how many planning commission meetings have we approved, through this process, this evening's process, almost 250,000 square feet of development, maybe not too many. So it'll be interesting to see this play out on the ground. And I'm also curious to see how that grade at the southeast corner, that'll be an interesting treatment to see those retaining walls. But I'm going to be in support.
Thank you. Commissioner Choi.
Thanks. I'm in support of the application. I do appreciate you bringing this PUD along with the GDP amendment together. It's helpful to see them, and good to see that you're forward thinking in terms of integrating in some of those anticipated approvals for that industrial, the industrial design standards into this application. So, good, strong recommendation to continue to pursue as high certification as possible for this. I know big industrial buildings can't always be easy compared to office buildings where they're a little bit easier to achieve, but I do appreciate it, and nice job not using any non-functional turf with the native grasses. So I'm in support.
Thank you. Mr. Basket.
I am also in support of this proposal. I appreciate the EV charging stations, the dark sky lighting, the landscaping. It seems to be setting the stage for the type of development that we hope for. Thank you.
Thank you. I am also in support of it. It's been a long time in the coming. Yeah, Lot 1, Block 1, Red Tail Ridge filing number 1. Number 1, PUD. So it's a beginning of a lot of change out there. With that, I would entertain a motion.
I think Commissioner Moline wanted to make a motion.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Moline.
Actually, I'm probably not a good choice tonight because I don't have the agenda in front of me. So if somebody else could, that'd be great.
I can feed it to you. It's going to be Resolution 21, Series 2025, Red Tail Ridge Planned Unit Development Number 1 for Light Industrial Building. I can go on if you want me to read them. With the recommendation to City Council for a PUD for new light industrial buildings in the central area of Red Tail Ridge, Lot 1, Block 1 of Red Tail Ridge filing number 1.
With conditions.
With conditions, including condition related to the enhanced IDDDSG and red line document.
Was that
That'll work wonderfully. So moved.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. With a roll call vote, please.
Chair Bruneyes.
Yes.
Vice Chair Basket.
Yes.
Secretary Choi.
Yes.
Commissioner Bangs.
Yes.
Commissioner Mahaley.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt.
Yes.
Commissioner Moline.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, with that then, do we have any planning commission comments? I think I'll start with acknowledging that Commissioner Moline will be moving on from working with us. Hopefully you'll come back and visit someday after the meeting, perhaps. Would be the best timing on that one. Jeff, I just wanted to thank you. I think it's been about 12 years of patient listening, of informed decision-making, and always being open to agree to disagree along the way. And I really want to thank you for your commitment and donation of your time and thought to the city.
I second that.
Well, thank you. I have, if I could speak for just if it's okay if I speak for just a second, thank you for thank you for that, Steve. I appreciate it. Yeah, folks, it's time for me to retire from the PC. But I've really enjoyed my time. It's been a privilege to sit on the Planning Commission. We've had incredible members the whole time, and including now. I've learned so much from the staff, from applicants, and from the public, from our neighbors. I've learned so much more about the town than I ever could have hoped. And I've been lucky to be on the board as we've worked through a couple of comp plans now, the housing study, the housing stuff, fire recovery. It's been a really exciting time to be on the board. And I also really appreciate this opportunity this is one of those occasions when you get to contribute to a community and you really feel valued, like the applicants, the neighbors, our staff, you just feel like you're valued. And so I've really enjoyed my time, and it's kind of sad to leave, but it is time, and I will see you all around town. And who knows, maybe I'll even show up at some meetings now and then. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Do we have any additional comments? I just want to note one thing that was a lesson learned for a reminder for me in public comment periods. Last month, I think I could have done a better job. I think I owe an apology to Ms. Belensky for perhaps not kind of refocusing public comment on us so that it's not directed at any of the applicants, whether they're city employees or otherwise. So just as a reminder to all of us that something I could have done better, and we'll all want to be certain we follow through on that in the future. Other than that, we've got a couple possible things in January 8th meeting.
Yeah, we'll have the long-awaited comp plan public review draft coming your way, and we are aiming to get it to you early because it's a lot to digest, certainly. So we're working on getting that wrapped up and packaged for you for January 8th with planned public engagement, open house kind of thing as soon as the end of January. Adoption, possibly a special meeting in late February for Planning Commission to start considering that. So it's moving along, it's moving quickly now, but it is nearly ready for your review.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you. It's been so much work for you all. Thank you so much. And we're looking at possible EV charging zoning code amendment discussion.
Yeah, we're going to try to tack that on to January 8th because we think it's fairly targeted. If it needs to be continued, it needs to be continued, and that's okay. But that's another state law that we need to comply with, and it's a good thing. So that one's pretty targeted. So, yeah.
Maybe even put that first. Maybe.
Yeah, I'll have to think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. With that, then, Commissioner Moline, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, so moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. See y'all.
Thanks, Jeff.